Hi everyone, this is going to be our experiment 1, measurements. For part 1, we need beaker, graduated cylinder and volumetric flask. 100 milliliter volumetric flask, the beaker and graduated cylinder. We need a thermometer, deionized water, a pipette and a precision balance. So we're going to find out of the 3 pieces of glassware, which one gives us the most accurate 100 milliliters. So we're going to get the data for beaker first. Take the 150 milliliter beaker, zero the balance, and then get the mass of the empty beaker. And record the mass and write down all the significant figures that the balance gives you. If there are zeros at the end, you have to write them down too. And then you're going to take 100 milliliters of deionized water to the beaker that you got the mass and align it with the 100 milliliter mark in the beaker. Look at it through the eye level, and if you think that it's your 100 milliliters, that's your 100. If not, you can adjust the volume by using a plastic pipette. So when you look at the meniscus through the eye level, it should be 100. Once you are satisfied that's 100 milliliters, you're going to get the mass of the beaker plus the 100 milliliters water. Write down the mass with all the significant figures. You see there is a 0 at the end. You have to write down that also. Now we're going to use 100 milliliter graduated cylinder. First we need to get the mass of the empty graduated cylinder. Tear the balance, get the mass, and record the mass. Just like before, now you're going to be adding 100 milliliters deionized water to the 100 milliliter mark of the graduated cylinder. Adjust the volume with the plastic pipette, so that way the meniscus of the water level will align with the 100 milliliter mark. Tear the balance, put the graduated cylinder on the balance and get the mass of the water and the graduated cylinder. Write down all the significant figures that the balance gives you. Next, we're going to be using 100 milliliter volumetric flask. Tear the balance. When you measure the mass of the volumetric flask, make sure to have the lid on when you are measuring it. Record the mass. Volumetric flask has only one line that says 100 milliliters. Add the DI water. Okay. When it gets closer, you stop adding, and then the last few drops you can add with a pipette. So the meniscus should align with the 100 milliliter mark, like that. Put the stopper back on and get the mass after tearing the balance. And write down the mass of volumetric flask with 100 milliliters of deionized water. We also need to get the temperature of the water, so you use the thermometer and record the temperature of the water. So these are all the data that you need for the part 1. And for the part 2, you need 150 milliliter beaker, graduated cylinder, volumetric pipette, and a pipette pump. So in this part, we're going to find out of the 10 milliliter pipette and 10 milliliter graduated cylinder, which one most accurately deliver stated volume, which is the 10 milliliters. We need 150 milliliter beaker for this part 2. Make sure it is nicely dry. Get the mass of the beaker, 150 milliliter beaker, and record the mass. Now for the first part, you take 10 milliliter graduated cylinder and add 10 milliliters water into that. Try to get as accurate as possible. Bottom of the meniscus should align with the 10 milliliter mark. And you call this as a aliquot, a small sample, and you're going to put into the beaker that you got the mass. So you put your aliquot 1 and then you're gonna zero the balance and get the mass of the beaker with the first 10 milliliters of your water sample. And you're gonna do this 2 more times. Put another 10 milliliters of DI water into the same graduated cylinder. Get your 10 milliliters as accurate as possible. And then transfer that into the same beaker that you have previous 10 milliliters. So now you have 2 aliquots, 2 samples. And then zero the balance and get the mass again. We're gonna do 1 more time the same thing. So we will do 3 samples, 3 aliquots. So the same graduated cylinder, add 10 milliliters of water. So at the end, you will see that you have about total 30 milliliters of water, meaning 3 samples of 10 milliliters of water. Record the mass. And then we're going to do the same thing with 10 milliliter volumetric flask. Going to do the same thing with the volumetric pipette. Again, you use 150 milliliter Clean and dry beaker. Record the mass. You can use the same beaker that you used before, but make sure that you empty the beaker and dry it properly with a paper towel. And then you're going to get the mass of the beaker. And to get the 10 milliliters to the pipette, you use this pipette pump. You'll get 10 milliliters into the pipette. There is only one line that says it's 10 milliliters. And then you're going to dispense that into the pre-weighed 150 milliliter flask. That's our first aliquot, or this first sample. You're going to get the mass after tearing the balance, and you're going to write it down. And now you're going to get the second 10 milliliters of aliquot. Just like you did before, another 10 milliliters into the same pipette. Transfer aliquot 2 into the beaker containing aliquot 1. Let the water drain. How many more times are we going to do? You're going to do one more time. Tear the balance and record the mass. Now you have 2 aliquots of water samples. And then aliquot 3, the last sample of water, with your pipette. So at the end of the 3 samples of water, you will have about 30 milliliters in your beaker. You're going to get the mass of the beaker with the third aliquot in it. And record the mass. So these are all the data you need for your second part.